When I first started flying at Glade Run Lake, it had been empty for about 3 years. So it was already pretty heavily overgrown. You could clearly see the boundaries of the lake, the trees right up to the edge of the lake. But it was empty, and in the summertime it was difficult to see exactly where the natural streams are that tend to flow through that area when it's not dammed up. That's the dam at the west end of the lake at the top, the fishing jetty in the middle, the boat ramp down here below, and up at the end of that little inlet there's a new footbridge leading to the hiking trail that takes you out to the east end of the lake. The old boat ramp was overgrown and kind of falling apart. The turnaround area was really minimal. The footpath leading from the boat ramp out to the fishing jetty was not in particularly good condition, and it certainly wasn't the sort of thing that you would consider to be handicapped accessible. The footpath was mainly gravel and debris, and it would have been pretty tough for somebody with a wheelchair to make their way out to the fishing jetty. The area below the dam, along the run below the gate, was relatively unattended and kind of eroding and not very attractive. And in the spring, before the vegetation really got a good hold after a long winter, it was pretty bare there in the lake bed, especially down toward the dam. The old spillway was starting to disintegrate, looking pretty ratty. That horizontal surface there in the middle of the picture at the top of the spillway is the key thing. That's what determines the size and shape of the lake. When the lake is full, it can't get any fuller than that. Any excess water comes right over the spillway. So that was a key element in designing the new spillway and dam. That's what the whole thing looked like when I first started flying. Up the top there, the spillway and the dam. The fishing jetty, in the same way, was pretty ratty. Its surface and its sides were kind of crumbling and rough, and the jetty had always been designed just to go out to the end and stop. So if you went out there to fish, you could walk out to the end, but that was it. In the winter, it was a lot easier to see the path of the streams that are the natural feeders to the lake. And it's also, from the air, a lot easier to see the old airport up on the hill. Probably a number of people are not aware that there is an old abandoned airport up there. In fact, in the mid-70s, I kept an airplane there. In January 15, I did a series of slow passes with the camera pointing vertically out at the east end and assembled a large collection of individual photographs into a mosaic and overlaid that on a Google Earth image combined with the survey that Dave Parise and the engineers did. And I think that helped figure out things like where the new channel should be. In June of 15, there was a really, really rainy week, and Dave Fowler invited me to come over and take a peek over his trees at the amount of water that had accumulated in the lake. It was pretty clear that when we finally decided to fill the lake, it was gonna happen about as quickly as we wanted it to. So the first order of business when they started working on the dam and the spillway was to demolish the old spillway. That took a while, and they started contouring the area that was going to be right up at the base of the dam and preparing the area where the new spillway was going to have to be. They also removed the facing of the old dam and reshaped it according to their design specs so that it was both strengthened and prettier. A bunch of high school kids one weekend did a project that created a bunch of, I think about 30 catfish spawning boxes. Those and other habitat structures are the kinds of things that Dave talked about, and he has he arranged to have them deployed uh, between the dam and the fishing jetty. Well, that's what you see here. There were some other structures around the fishing jetty, and then there were some more of these spawning boxes and other structures on east of the fishing jetty. So basically, they've created a huge collection of very interesting fish habitat things that are going to make this new lake uh, sort of an amusement park for fish. It's going to be just delightful. Lots of pilings and piles of riprap there around the jetty. And then they began to construct the new spillway and the new face of the dam. And that was a considerable project because that's quite a it's a complex structure that has to be just right. It has to fit just right with the rest of the dam. Eventually, the new spillway was finished, and the underlying structure of the new dam was complete. They kept touching up the contour of the dam, and at the same time, they started laying the foundation for the deck that was going to be added to the end of the fishing jetty. They put in 6 big reinforced concrete pilings that the deck would sit on. Plus, they built a ramp and ledge that the one edge of the deck would sit on. Once they got the pilings in place and they had settled down, they started framing the deck. And it looks very much like the sort of deck that you might add on your house, except for the fact that it's got some really sturdy pilings. So while that was going on, they pretty much completed the work at the dam. They cleared out the area leading up to the dam, which is part of the government specifications for how you have to build a dam like that. And they added this lovely facing to the dam and started stabilizing the slope on the west side of the dam. About that time, they also began to dig a 1,200-foot long channel along the north shore. And the material that they removed from the channel, they used to construct an island that will provide some excellent turtle habitat. And I understand there's a plan to put an osprey nesting platform on that island also. That's the island, the flat surfaced structure right there. And on east of the island and along the channel, there are a couple stands of willows through which they've cut some lateral channels that'll make it possible for the fish to move from the main stream channel over to this new deep channel. And there's the island again. I understand the island is going to be called Paris Island. I'm not sure where that name came from. Dave, do you? Well, never mind. They put a new custom-built railing on the deck that will facilitate letting people come out there and fish from wheelchairs. The new spillway looked like it was getting ready to do its job as we gradually started filling the lake, starting back in the fall. And on Bonnie's birthday, I am told, we discovered that the water level had reached the top of the spillway, which means, in this case, the lake is as full as it is ever going to get. It can't get fuller than that because any excess water will just go right over the spillway. So the dam is complete, the spillway is complete, Glade Run Lake is back.